pāyur, the evacuating outlet. Yamasya, the controlling deity of death. Mṛtasya, of Mitra. Parimokṣasya, of the evacuating hole. Nārada, O Nārada. Hiṁsāyā, of envy. nirṛter, of misfortune. mṛtyor, of death. nirayasya, of hell. gudaṁ, the rectum. smṛtaḥ is understood. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Nārada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the abode of the controlling deity of death. Mitra and the evacuating hole, and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death and hell, etc. The back of the Lord, next verse, text number 10. Parābhūter adharmasya tamasaś cāpi paścimaḥ nāḍyo nada-nadīnāṁ gotrāṇām asthi-saṁhatiḥ. The back of the Lord is the place of all kinds of frustration and ignorance, as well as for immorality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. PURPORT. In order to defy the impersonal conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a systematic analysis of the physiological and anatomical constitution of his transcendental body is given here. It is clear from the available description of the body of the Lord, his universal form, that the form of the Lord is distinct from the forms of ordinary mundane conception. In any case, he is never formless or void. Ignorance is the back of the Lord, and therefore ignorance of the less intelligent class of men is also separate from his bodily conception. Since his body is the complete whole of everything that be, one cannot assert that he is impersonal only. On the contrary, the perfect description of the Lord holds that he is both impersonal and personal simultaneously. The personality of Godhead is the original feature of the Lord, and his impersonal emanation is but the reflection of his transcendental body. Those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, where those who are frustrated and are thus kept in ignorance sight of the Lord, or in other words, those who have the view of the Lord from the back, realize him and his impersonal feature. Om Jnanatmirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusade Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpataru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Paritanam Bhavnivyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Karambakhanana Saminiti Namane Gaura Kripamrita Prapto Vraje Maya Pure Priya Prabhupada Priya Lokam Payananti Anivartitam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Gurudasya Chaita Saminiti Namane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Deshatarine. So while reciting these mantras, it happens that you may do this recitation unconsciously. And this unconsciousness is called avidya, or how it's described here, it's the mashaha, tamasaha. Tamasa, but it means ignorance. And this ignorance is covering the actual function of the soul to be consciously perceiving things. And this is an interesting function of the soul, that you can actually do something unconsciously. Like when you are starting doing something mechanical, you're acting in a way, but you're not thinking of it very consciously. You're just doing mechanical, and you're not conscious of it. Like japa. Sometimes we chant japa, but we're not conscious of our japa. That's called, in one way, ignorance, because we're not totally conscious of the japa, of the name of the Lord, of the form of the Lord in His holy name. So we are in ignorance of the Lord. So we're seeing not, as Prabhupada describes in the purport, we're not seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead from His front side, but we're seeing Him from His back. And this is an aspect of the Lord that is impersonal. It's like the shadow. It's that in a conditioned state of life, we are perceiving only nama-bhas. We cannot see the pure Shuddha-nāṁ. We cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead purely manifest in His holy name. Shuddha means pure. So Shuddha-nāṁ means the pure name. And unless and until we have not purified our hearts, we cannot perceive this true holy name, but we see the shadow of it. So if we see the shadow, it's actually not the same taste as having the real thing. Like if you have an ice cream and you try to lick it. You can lick it if you have the real thing, but if you just have the shadow, it's not tasty. You cannot lick the shadow. It has no taste. Similarly, the impersonal feature of the Lord, there is no rasa. There's only you are. You're perceiving this chit shakti of the Lord, eternality. You're eternally there. Sat. Sat and chit means being conscious. So these two energies of the Lord are there in the unmanifest aspect of the Lord, the impersonal one. So now the very interesting thing is that this form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all encompassing, I said in English. It's allumfassend. And it covers all aspects of this whole universe, of this whole creation. And there's nothing that is not a part of this form of the Lord. And therefore also ignorance is part of the Lord. It is not a separate entity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like in some theologies you have the goodwill and the ignorance, which is covering spirituality, or which is a rivalry of spirituality. You have these two energies fighting all the time. And sometimes the devil is winning and sometimes God is winning. And you have these two voices there, they're talking all the time. Now everybody knows these analogies. But actually, it is that also ignorance is part of the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's Maya Shakti. It's also part of His Shakti. And it is as dependent on the Lord as is normal yoga maya or pure knowledge. And pure knowledge means that we perceive God, that we perceive Krishna. And if there's ignorance, we cannot perceive God or Krishna. But also this energy is part of the Supreme Whole. It is only the backside of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And today I want to speak about this interesting topic, philosophical topic of the unconscious. Because we are so unconscious of so many things, and in philosophy you have different aspects of the unconscious. Unconscious can be understood in traditional thought as, according to, for example, Schopenhauer, the philosophy of pessimism, that it is the essence of all existence. The metaphysical ignorance or unconsciousness, it is the foundation on which the personal living entity is perceiving something. Because there is some existence, according to Schopenhauer, that is that you're perceiving something, but actually your real entity you're unconscious of. And this is actually the foundation of the whole universe, of this whole creation. Everything is actually unconscious, and we are living entities based on this unconscious principle, perceiving this world. You understand? It's a little philosophical. So, and it's the essence of all existence, this unconsciousness. And we as Vaishnava devotees, how do we understand this ignorance or this unconsciousness, Unbewusstsein, das Unbewusstes? We understand it as the super soul and the Paramatma or the Atman that is actually unconscious of its original Swarup. We have a Swarup, what does Swarup mean? Who knows what does Swarup mean? Swarup. Exactly, the original position. Sva means original, and Rupa means form. So the original form, the Swarup of the soul is to be a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to be the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually this total natural symptom of a living entity. It's a symptom of life. It's inherent. You cannot take it away. Like consciousness is a symptom of life. Naturally also it's a symptom of life of the soul to be a servant of God, to be a servant of Krishna. Just we have forgotten it. Just somehow or other we have come into this illusion. We have voluntarily tried to be unconscious of it. That's interesting. We are devotees. We are full of beautiful qualities, Satchitananda. But somehow or other we have wanted to be the Lord, and therefore we need to be in ignorance. So we ourselves are consciously or unconsciously ignorant of our original position. And therefore there's such a big potential within us that is unconscious, that there is in ignorance. We're in ignorance of it. And what do the yogis do? They try to alleviate this ignorance, to put the clouds aside and only see the power of the soul without its relationship to Krishna. Shri Shri Pralakshmi Simhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. So without its relationship to Krishna, because the soul is just existing as for the yogis as a unique, powerful entity. It's said that the soul is as powerful as millions of suns, thousands of suns. It's amazing. Just like when the sun comes out, immediately it's so hot, so warm. Like yesterday was my office. I put my bottle of water into the sun, and it was burning hot just by standing on the sun. And just the sun is making all these clouds, which are evaporating and are floating in the sky and pouring lots of rain. And the sun is so powerful. Actually, because of the sun, we can exist. Without the sun, basically, there's not much power that we can exist, because we need it, like the plants. All the plants. We need the plants. And if we don't have plants, we cannot breathe. And this also this vitamin D12. Yeah, that's where during I was speaking. Great lecture about it. But this amazing quality of the sun is to give power, to give prana. So something, it's said that yogis, they can live even from the prana, from the energy taken from the sun. So the sun is so powerful. And the soul itself is unlimitedly powerful and so shining. But we are in ignorance. We are so much covered under this different layers of ignorance. Very much covered. And somehow or other we have unconsciously or consciously being put into this situation where we're not conscious of our constitutional position. And thus one can assume or take this right conclusion that actually ignorance is the basic principle of this whole universe, like Schopenhauer says. Ignorance is the basic principle of this material world. That's why all of us are here. But we are devotees, we are trying to be conscious, to uncover this beautiful power and beautiful nature of the soul. And that is the exciting thing about Krishna consciousness, that you try to see this beauty of the soul. And then, of course, there's, as also further you speak, other philosophers speak about the psychological unconsciousness, ignorance, that actually you're doing many things, very unconscious. This is like this, like you're reacting to something. Just like if you put a hand in front of someone's face, then immediately you blink. And there are so many other things that also psychologically, if somebody attacks you, you immediately try to answer and say, no, actually I'm like this and this. Or there are so many psychological reactions that we are unconscious of and that are inherent us, but we cannot understand. And this unconsciousness is of this psychological processes is because we as a soul, we have a certain pattern. It's said that our action imprints a samskara within our subtle body. So we as living entities, we're acting within this material world, and while acting, we are forming our subtle body. It's like we're putting stamps on it. When we do something, it's like it's burned into our mind, it's burned into our form of existence. How we speak, how we react, how we treat with other people, all this, what we are now, how we are perceiving, how I'm talking, is actually a manifestation of all the samskaras that I've had not only in this life, but also in other lives. That's why sometimes we're put in a body and we think like, I don't feel very uncomfortable in this body. Because somehow or other, due to karma, you have not a body that's totally, you feel comfortable with, and you have the samskaras of some other mindset, but somehow you're put into this body. Or sometimes, which is very crazy and very amazing, is when people are insane, and they understand that they are insane. I think that is one of the most terrible things that can happen to you. Because if you're insane and you're not conscious of it, then you're just ignorance is bliss, how the saying goes. Huh? But if you know that you're insane and you cannot do anything against it, that's most crazy. It's destroying your whole heart, because you cannot act actually. You understand how you should act, how you do, but every time you do it wrong. In a similar way, also there's not on a psychological level we are unconscious, but on the soul level we're most unconscious. Because especially as devotees, we are acting in a conscious, as devotees we are acting in we're trying to act consciously in this level of the soul, but so many times we are failing to do so. So many times we are falling under the trap of ignorance. And sometimes also the devotees become like we become desperate, without any hope. Because every time again and again, you're doing sinful acts, you're doing ignorance, you're falling under unconsciousness. And then you're being hopeless. But only the process of trying and again standing up and fighting for the pleasure of Krishna, for the pleasure of your Gurudev, and for the mission is actually what is, at the end, pulling us up. Because we don't have any power. We don't have any might to say that 100% I'm going to go back to Krishna. We are all dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what we need to pray for. We need to understand that. So going back to the understanding, what is this unconscious act? What is happening? We are formed of all our samskaras. And the samskaras, these actions, they're imprinted within our mind. And they're so strong. So now when we are trying to act, and we're acting, we're not, because of the samskaras, we have an automatical reaction to things. And thus we're acting in a certain way and reacting in a certain way. But a conscious living being is, or therefore also the Buddhists and many philosophies are trying to live consciously, to be conscious of these things. Because actually if you're in the moment and you're acting consciously, you can act in such powerful way. You can have your words, your actions have such a greater impact when you actually act consciously, and that means acting in goodness. Because passion means you're just reacting. You're just all the time, you see something, you're acting, reacting, it's all the time, boo, 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 boo. It's like a game, you're fighting all the time. But in sattva gun, you're consciously making a decision. And therefore, as the devotees, we are trying to be in sattva gun so that we consciously can make a decision, a step towards Krishna, a step towards enlightenment, and a step towards knowledge. And that is the most amazing thing that we can be doing within our life, that we can make this conscious decision to actually, I want to serve Krishna. And as it seems, these words seem very banal, they seem very simple, but it's actually such a great understanding that every time, it's not a decision. But Modestus also knows with the cows, it's not, okay, I take care of the cows and it's gone. No, it's all the time you're taking care. And similarly, also you're always reminding yourself and always making this decision and always meditating on, with my actions, with my decisions, I want to please Krishna. So for a devotee like Srila Prabhupada, every action was in the meditation, how does this please Krishna? It's not that he's thinking, okay, if I lift my finger, does this please Krishna? But because his inherent nature, because his samskaras are so filled with Krishna, of chanting such powerful holy name, of hearing such transcendental vibration, of reading the books, is so full of Krishna consciousness that every action, every decision, every word, every thought is made out of pure Krishna consciousness. And similarly, if we devotees are chanting, we should not chant in this ignorance. We should try to see this personal form of the Lord, to chant in a personal way, and see God personally in the Naam, in the holy name. And then actually this holy name can have such an immense power. And it is only up to us to alleviate us from this ignorance, to go beyond this darkness of ignorance and bring light into our lives. But to understand, also said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says in the purport, to understand how to get out of this material world, it's also good or important that we understand and analyze ourselves. Therefore we were talking about ignorance. What is ignorance? There's 5 types of ignorance that are being described. And thus we should meditate, how am I acting so unconsciously, unconscious of Krishna, unconscious in general of what I'm actually doing. As devotees, sometimes we're putting the plates here, putting the plates there, or we're leaving something here, leaving something there. That's very unconscious. That's not Krishna conscious. To be Krishna, Prabhupada said, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. So also when you use so many chemicals, when we use this, when we use that, we should be really conscious of actually what we're doing. So therefore let us try to become perfect devotees in the mission of Srila Prabhupada and to consciously contribute towards the mission. That is our duty. And then we will be able, as it says here in this verse, we'll be able to see the personal feature of the Lord, not the impersonal one. Because the impersonal one is no taste, there's no rasa, there's no exchange of love. But the devotees, what do they want? They want pure love. They want Krishna Prem. And this Krishna Prem is the most satisfying thing for the soul, because he has been hankering for it life after life. Like last time I spoke about this verse, Chito darpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vijavadu jivanam anandam bodhi vardanam pratipadam purnam ritasvadanam sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This rain of mercy that is coming along with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is making the ocean of transcendental ecstasy increase ever. And makes it increase and increase and increase and increase without boundaries. And it enables us to taste the nectar at every step. Thus, it said, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Therefore, all glories, all victory, may this Harinam Sankirtan, this congregational chanting of the holy name, be victorious of our bad qualities, of our ignorance, and we might get total understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May this rain of supreme nectar shower upon us. That is our prayer. And that is our meditation. Hare Krishna. That's, I think, very nice meditation we can think today in Ekadasi of how we can overcome this ignorance. In our devotion service, sometimes we are like, we are lazy, or we think, oh, I did already so much, and we are this and that. But we should be active and actively trying to please the Lord with every our action, actively chanting the holy name, actively doing things. Especially in this Ekadasi day, it's most powerful to do it. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, Lena and then Monica.
Okay, thanks, Prabhu. I have a question about, ignorance. So, you said it's not good to be ignorant, and we should do everything consciously. But what about things like, for example, playing an instrument? At the beginning, you have to play it very consciously because you have to learn it, but then later on you do it more unconsciously so that you can concentrate on other things like singing. So isn't it sometimes good to do something unconsciously?
I don't say that we need to be like, okay, I need to be conscious and then moving my hand, and that's not what I'm saying. Of course, it's totally natural to do it, and it is also in some way, if you get some perfection, you just do it out of totally natural. You don't need to break your head how to do it, because you already have the samskara. I'm just speaking about chanting the holy name, about mantras, about devotional service, because that's in another category. In material life, actually, if you get this perfection of doing things unconsciously, then it's kind of okay, it's good work. But for the holy name and for devotional service, you should, with every step, become more and more conscious. And of course, if you play mridanga, then you should be conscious that you're playing for Krishna's pleasure. And the point that I wanted to say, actually, if you especially have this routine, it is also the Paramatma that reminds you, the super soul within the heart, that reminds you of these qualities, of these things. It's like remembrance is such an amazing thing. Because who makes you remember? You cannot say, I will remember. It's always here it says it's a phenomenon of remembrance, and it was described here, dreaming. That's and what were the other ones? Yeah, these were two of examples, and remembrance and dreaming. Like, where from does this, or ideas, where do they come from? And it's not that you can push a button, you consciously make this idea, or consciously you can make this remembrance. You can try to make it happen. Like, you try to think of other things and then suddenly, oh yeah, I remember. But it is actually the super soul who is giving you this knowledge and ignorance. That's what's described in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto smṛtaḥ gudaṁ apohanam cha. I am remembrance and forgetfulness and knowledge. So all of this come from the super soul. So if we remember something or forget something, it's of Krishna. But this amazing thing of remembering, we should be, whenever we remember something, if we know this, then we can be very much thankful towards Krishna. It's like, yeah, I remember, nice. Because it's not you who are remembering. You cannot turn the machine on and say, I'm remembering. You can try to memorize, even if you memorize something. Sometimes you're sitting there and you don't know anything. It's just you're out, you're blank. Sometimes like this phenomenon that you prepare a very good lecture and everything, you're sitting there and then it's like, So remembrance is not guaranteed. It becomes by the super soul. And the more Krishna conscious you are, the more normal it is. And also when this reciting verses especially, it is very common that sometimes you're just, even though you practice so much, it's just not. So if we know something like the ghost, like we know it, we can do it unconsciously, like playing mridanga, we can remember that it's actually Krishna doing it. So sometimes also when I'm playing mridanga, and it's getting very difficult to play mridanga, like Bhaktivedanta Bhav Maharaj plays, and I really need to concentrate because he's very heavy if you play wrong. So and then I'm praying to Paramatma, please let me remember the beat, because sometimes I don't remember the beat. And just sitting there and it's like, but if I pray to Krishna and then it's happening. Like the mridanga is playing it by itself, and I don't know why I'm moving my hand, but the hand is moving along to the kirtan because I just want to serve. Okay, Monica, you have some questions.
Very inspiring class. I just have a few reflections as when you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mentioned that Krishna consciousness is a constant work, and compared with Modestus Prabhu taking care of cows. I just remembered how Adharmasya many times says in his lectures, if you don't go forward, you automatically go backward.
If you don't go with what?
Forward, you automatically go backward.
Yeah.
You just cannot stand. Like, if the life is basically like pulling you down the whole time. So if you don't move forward, you'll go backwards automatically.
That's a little bit scary, huh?
You must always make an effort, because otherwise you just sink down.
True.
And another thing, I was just reading in Bhagavatam recently, and it really struck me when you talked about consciousness and unconsciousness, that we as living entities, we can, if we are conscious and if we develop pure consciousness, we can achieve 78% of qualities of Krishna. So this is so much, 78%. Shiva has 84. So like this is a huge amount. No? And then we can reach Gaura Mohan Prabhu if we have 70%. So it's a huge potential to really become conscious.
It's so nice that I just repeat. Monica Mataji said, first of all, if we don't make any effort, it's Krishna consciousness is always making an effort, and if we don't do it, then always we are going backwards if we don't try to go beyond. And also, and the second point was that 70% of the quality, 78% the soul can achieve of Krishna's qualities. Which is another amazing thing. Like I was, I don't know with whom I was speaking, but it's very interesting. Yes, and I was telling, he was a convinced Mayavadi. No, he wanted to be greater and want to be same with God. And then I thought, like, how am I going to preach to him, you know? It's like very difficult. So I thought, like, yeah, you can be, okay, and I described the glories of being same with God, you know, you perceive everything, and you know you're almighty, and actually you're all one with everything. And I told him, but that's one amazing realization. But do you know actually, when you realize this, that there's a further step where you can become greater than God, you can become more than God. It's like, wow, what is it? What is it? Tell me about it. It's like, you become so great that you actually start loving God. And with this love, you bind Him. And you make Him become your child. You make Him become your friend. And then because you have this love, God cannot but reciprocate in this way. So actually then you're becoming greater than God. Yes, that's what I want. That's what I want. That's really good. So it is actually, the devotees are becoming greater than God because they're binding God with their love. And it's the most amazing thing. It's not even 70%, it's even more than that. Therefore even Krishna incarnates as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand that, what are these devotees experiencing. And also Brahmananda's very sweet story. He was, if we meditate on the qualities of Guru, and soon also the Vyasa Puja from his spiritual masters coming up, and he was saying about Prabhupada when he was dying. No, there's memorials, this funeral in Vrindavan, I was there, and all the Swamis were speaking in glorification of Brahmananda. And Brahmananda was one of the main and first disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And first, he was kicked out of ISKCON. He was sagt man in German, exmatrikuliert. He was kicked out of ISKCON, and because he was preaching that actually Prabhupada is Krishna. And we just all don't know it. It's just playing a lila. It's actually Krishna, it's an avatar. And Prabhupada got so angry because, you know, that's the main things. So many bogus gurus are preaching this. So I don't want to see you, know. You go out. You're not part of ISKCON. You're not my son. And he was so hurt because it was like, that's Prabhupada, you know. And they were thinking, actually, am I right? It was Brahmananda, Vishnujan, Gargamuni, and one other. There's 4 of them. Maybe in Krishna Maharaj, I don't know. And then they were kicked out. And then they were like thinking, oh, what did they do? What did they do? And then later he said, after Prabhupada left, he thought, I had once this stupid misconception which Prabhupada really rectified me and told me that I thought that Prabhupada is same as God. But now that Prabhupada is gone and I reflect on everything what has happened, I understand that Prabhupada is even better than God. Because he's just giving us so much love. He's come to the West and giving so much endeavor. So as a disciple, we see the spiritual master is our refuge. Of course, philosophically, the spiritual master is not better than God, but for the disciple, his emotions, his understanding, his gratefulness is so much for the spiritual master. And therefore it's also so amazing in the spiritual world, the gopis, they want to serve the other gopis to serve Krishna. They don't, like, the prayer is of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gopir Patur Padakamayor Das Anudas Das 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 Das. He's praying to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And that's his greatest ecstasy. To be the servant of the gopis who are serving another gopi and who is serving another gopi who is serving Krishna. And because there's this grateful relationship between you and the gopi you're serving, or this other transcendental, most beautiful living entity that you're serving, that you eternally want to serve that person to serve Krishna. You don't want to go directly to Krishna because you actually love this person so much. So all service is eternally and fully perfect in the spiritual world, and becomes even more sweeter the more das anudas das das you are. The more you are the servant of the servant of the servant. And the more proud it can be that we can serve the servants of the servants of the servants of the servants. Nowadays, if somebody asks you, what is your job title? If you say, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, everybody's like, what is this? But if you tell I'm the CEO, then everybody's like, oh, very good. Huh? So, but